So let's talk about the ingredients that you can use to make a good prompt. Any prompt, not specific to one genre or one purpose, but just generally the ingredients that make a good prompt. There's 4 main pieces, and they don't always all have to be there. You don't need all of them to make a good prompt, but the 4 categories of information are the initial context or the initializer, the instructions, the task that you're asking the model to perform, any input data, and then constraints and formatting rules. So those 4 things can work together to build pretty much any good prompt on any topic. In this video, we'll talk about the initial context, what that means. So when we're dealing with ChatGPT, remember that this is a model that doesn't really have one specific task, right? It's not trained to be a code enhancing engine or a English translating model or a travel agent or an email writer. It's a general purpose large language model. What can be useful is to give it some specific role, a job, not just that the task that's coming next, but instead we can give it some initial context. You are a plagiarism checker. Imagine you are a screenwriter. Act as an English translator and tutor, or sometimes you can just give it some initial context that is actually setting the stage for us, the user. I'm in a horrible mood today, or I'm a junior web developer trying to ace the coding interview, or I run a company and need help doing X. So you give the model some initial context before asking your question or whatever the task is, which is the second part of the prompt we'll cover in the next video. Initializing this context is as simple as saying something like, act as a JavaScript and React expert, or you are a writing tutor that helps people improve their spelling, writing, and tone. We still haven't provided actual instructions or a task, right? We haven't said correct this sentence or write me an essay or something like that. We've just set the scene and said, this is your job, because it is this omni tool, right, that can do so many things. By narrowing it down, we tend to get better results. We can also do silly things, act as an annoying anime-obsessed teenage boy from Ohio. I'll talk about why it's useful to use the act as syntax in a moment. I'll do that in the next video. There's a reason for it. We can also do things that maybe are a bit more useful. Imagine you are a tech industry hiring expert that specializes in getting your clients jobs at large tech companies. That could be the initial context, and then right below it, I can start to say, ask me interview questions, review my resume, write me a cover letter. There's a million things I can do, but I'm setting the scene here. I'm basically giving it details as to what its job is. But we can also do the same thing for us, the querier, the user. I'm having a terrible day and need someone to listen to me rant and complain about life. Or I am an online course creator and I make courses to help people learn coding and tech-related topics. I can give it that context to tell it a bit about me. And then, of course, the next step is to ask it to do something specific. And this might seem trivial. It is, really. It's such a simple thing to do. All of the prompt engineering concepts are pretty simple. But you put them together, you have a little recipe, a formula, you can make very good prompts. And this is just one small part. Keep that in mind. Here's another example. Act as a Python code reviewing assistant. Or act as an online marketing expert that specializes in ads targeting Gen Z. So those are just some examples. I'll show it in practice in the next video. Again, it comes down to providing some background information as to who or what the model is. You don't have to think of it as a person always, but as some sort of assistant, what type of assistant, and context as to who or what you are, the querier.